Hi there and welcome back to English Lessons with Inlingua Vancouver. I'm Tash and right now we're going to look at all 8 of the ways we talk about the past in English. So this is a bit more of an advanced lesson. Okay, we're going to look at 8 of the past tenses. If you haven't seen some of the past tenses before, this is not the lesson for you. Okay, it's a recap and an investigation of how they connect to each other, when we use them and how they work. So let's start with number 1, the easiest of the past tenses, past simple. Okay, so all we do here is add ed if it's a regular verb, or use the past simple form if it's an irregular verb. For example, I worked at Inlingua. And you can see here I've drawn a beautiful timeline for you, and the past simple interacts with the timeline in a single position. Here is the timeline, here is the event. I worked at Inlingua in the past. The second one we're going to look at is used to. When do we use used to? That's right, for routine or regular occurrence in the past. So if something was a habit, something you did every day, every week, for example, we can use used to instead of the past simple. We look up here. Used to. It's a regular situation. I used to work at Inlingua every day. Next one is would. This one's kind of unusual. You might not know it, but it is very easy grammatically speaking. It fits in the same position as used to, goes in front of the infinitive form of the verb. We just put would in, and that turns it into a past sentence. Okay? Would also refers to habit or regular occurrence in the past, and it is unusual. Usually, if we use would for a past situation, we're going to give more information about this situation. So over here you can see I've got ... That's to show that usually this sentence would be extended to give more information. Timeline is the same. Okay? Regular situation in the past. I would work at Inlingua when I lived in Canada, for example. I would. Next one, present perfect. Getting a little bit more complicated now. Present perfect formed with have and the past participle. My sentence here, I've worked at Inlingua. It's a very general sentence. This is correct. We can end it here, but there's not a lot of information. So I have put ... because usually we would give a little bit of time information or some more detail to this sentence. I've worked at Inlingua for 6 months. Or I've worked at Inlingua since July, for example. So if you take a look at my timeline over here, you can see now, and the red arrow shows that the present perfect situation is continuing until now. So it started in the past and it is still going now. Present perfect. I've worked at Inlingua since July. I still work at Inlingua. You can tell because I'm on the video. Okay, let's look at the next one. Present perfect continuous. Present perfect, I have worked. Present perfect continuous, I have been working. So what's happened here is that we've added in been, which is the perfect form of to be. We've still got have for the present, and we've got ing for the continuous. I've been working at Inlingua for 6 months. I've worked at Inlingua for 6 months. I've been working at Inlingua for 6 months. So what is the difference? Well, grammatically they are very, very similar in meaning. We actually are just focusing on a different part of the sentence. When we use the present perfect, the focus is on the action. I've worked at Inlingua. Okay? The focus is on the result. Sorry, not the action. The focus is on the result. I've worked at Inlingua. But when we use the continuous form, ing, I've been working, we are exaggerating the action, making it sound like maybe it took place over a really long period of time or was very important. But if you look at the timeline, you see they have the same meaning, but a different focus. Present perfect, result, present perfect continuous, action. Very similar, little bit confusing. You should check out the video on present perfect and present perfect continuous for more information. Next one up is my favorite tense, the past continuous. There is already another video about the past continuous, so if this is confusing for you, check out the links in the comments section and watch the full in-depth video on the past continuous. We use the past continuous to talk about 2 situations in the past where one was happening when another one interrupted. Have a look at my timeline first to help you out here. This situation was happening, and number 2, this situation interrupted, cut into the first action. The structure, I was, that's your past, working, that's your continuous. I was working at inlingua when my book was published, for example. I was working at inlingua when my book was published, during this time. Okay, they intersect on top of each other. Next one, past perfect. Also talking about 2 situations in the past, but this time they are not intersecting like this. Okay, they are happening one after the other, end to end. Situation 1 and then situation 2. And we use the past perfect to make it clear which situation happened first. Okay, number 1, then number 2. The tense structure, I had worked at inlingua. When you have had to make the past perfect, had worked, okay, this shows this action was first. I had worked at inlingua when my book was published. Okay, no overlap, end to end. Check out the diagram to help you. Number 1, then number 2. And we can switch around the structure with past perfect. Okay, when my book was published, I had worked at inlingua. As long as we have had and the past participle, we know this event was the first event. Again, you can check out the full-length, in-depth video on the past perfect if you look at the links in the comments section. Next one up is the past perfect continuous. Okay. Remember we talked about present perfect continuous, how they have the same meaning but a different focus? This is the same thing again. Same meaning, different focus. I had been working at inlingua when my book was published. Same grammatical meaning, I had been working is first, when my book was published is second, but this event is being emphasized. The action is being emphasized. We are making it sound very important and dramatic. The working, okay? The verb has become very big and dominant. That's where the focus is. So that is the basic form of all the past tenses that we use in English when we are talking about situations in the past. And what I'm going to do now is rub this off and set up a really big timeline for you guys to see how they connect to each other and how they interact. So we'll be right back. Okay, so as promised, here is a timeline showing all of the tenses that we just talked about. I've labeled them down here. Ooh. This is also the present perfect continuous. Okay, don't forget they have the same function, just a slightly different focus. So what you can do is look for the number up on the timeline and see what situation we are talking about. So past simple, one event cuts the timeline in the past. Used to and would, same image. Happened regularly over a period of time in the past. Number 4 is the past continuous. So we had this event going along and then bam, another event interrupted the first event. Okay. Past perfect, 2 events end to end. And we use the past perfect to describe the first event. And finally, we have the present perfect or present perfect continuous that comes right up till now. So if you take the names, the timeline, and look at the definitions and the example sentences I gave you in the previous screen, then you'll be able to piece this together and hopefully really understand how these different tenses interact with each other and when we use them. So that's all for me from now, but please subscribe to our channel for more great English lessons, and I will see you next time.